So we needed some people who, as I said, would put their immediate self-interest behind them and make difficult votes. We needed people who had the confidence to know that if we just had the will, we could get through these dark days and make them a whole lot brighter. Leaders with enough economic smarts, independent judgment, and just stand-up common sense to get us where we had to go. We needed leaders who have enough gumption and have demonstrated they're willing to exercise that gumption in times that are unpopular and that are difficult. We found them in the Democratic caucus in the person of Tom Carper, for real. We found them all across the Democratic spectrum. But you know what? That caucus needs some new momentum. That Democratic caucus needs some new ideas. We can't afford the same old in Washington. Ladies and gentlemen, we need exactly what Chris Coons stands for, what Chris Coons has demonstrated. I mean this literally, and what Chris Coons possesses. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris is a truly independent guy. He's a Democrat. He shares the same values we all share. But this is an independent guy who's smarter than most and has the willingness to take difficult decisions. He came to county executive in a pretty difficult time, if I'm not mistaken. The office was a mess, and Coons said that we're going to clean this place up. None of that was popular. It wasn't popular with labor. It wasn't popular with business. It wasn't popular with anybody. But everybody knows when there's no tough decision that has an easy answer. I haven't found one yet. I haven't found one yet. So the people understood that this guy, even though some of the stuff he did wasn't popular, was necessary. And so what did he do? He cut $130 million in spending. He achieved a AAA bond rating while the rest of the country was heading in the drink. He imposed tough new ethics standards. He launched the Safe Streets Partnership to remove violators of parole from the streets, the ones most likely to commit those crimes. Ladies and gentlemen, the thing I like most about him, and Mom and Dad, the thing that I most admire about what you two produced was this guy gets it in his gut. You know, who goes to Yale and gets a law degree and a divinity degree? Somebody, first of all, who the hell goes to Yale? I don't know. My son Huntworth, I haven't spoken to him since. I never liked those guys at Yale and Harvard. But all kidding aside, think about it. You know, when things are difficult, I trust the man or woman who arrives at the correct decision when it starts in their gut, moves to their heart, and then is articulated through their intellect as they process it. I appreciate those who are with me reaching just an intellectual conclusion, but when things get tough, they don't hang around. I really mean it. It's the guys who feel it in their gut. Well, this is a guy who feels it in his gut. This is a guy who understands an awful lot of Delawareans are still hurting. An awful lot of Delawareans are unnecessarily scarred by a recession that was not of their own making, which is why he's been so supportive of our efforts from the county level looking at us. He's been involved. He's been down to the Recovery Act. He's been deeply involved with the National Association of Counties. He has been engaged in this national effort because local officials have not brought this on themselves. This is a worldwide economic recession. And so he supported the Recovery Act. Right here in Delaware, that's already created 8,000 jobs and would create more. 300,000 Delawareans in the last year got a tax break of $200 million with the single biggest middle-class tax cut that almost went unnoticed because we didn't advertise it as part of the Recovery Act. But people got enough money to be able to get them through tough times. Not enough, but they got enough that made a difference in their lives. 650 teachers asked the governor, who would have otherwise gotten pink slips, and school personnel taught and were involved last year because of the Recovery Act. Ladies and gentlemen, the 24 cops on the beat preventing untold crimes because of the Recovery Act that wouldn't otherwise be there. But where Chris's leadership has been especially vital is in getting our fiscal house in order, like he did getting the county's fiscal house in order. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy knows how to balance a budget, and this guy understands the difference between short-term stimuli and long-term debt. Ladies and gentlemen, he's helped do it in Delaware, and he's going to bring that experience to Washington.